Hey guys, good morning. I wanted to make a little episode talking about Christmas, our experience with Christmas growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses. And for those who are listening and don't really know what Jehovah's Witnesses believe and what the kids go through, a little explanation like how hard it is for kids to grow up as Jehovah's Witnesses. So, me growing up in Europe, I don't feel like it was as intense / festive as it was here in the States. Once my kids started to go to elementary school here in the United States, I felt so bad for the teacher because I just always felt like we had to have everything like extra, like special treatment. And the teachers have their plates full so much with so many different things. And I was constantly emailing the teacher, we don't do this, we don't do that. And how is she even supposed to remember that? So my oldest kindergarten teacher, so it was like his first time in school. They didn't go to daycare or anything like that. So they weren't really like, they were 5 when they started to go to a public school system. And we had a teacher who was just absolutely lovely. She's had pretty much by coincidence, like our whole congregation's kids in her class. And so she was very familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses, and she was incredibly kind. And to me, I felt so thankful for that because I just thought that she was just compassionate because it is hard for the kids. But I also always felt like I don't want the whole class to have to bow to like our faith and our beliefs and change things up. And so I never, was against them celebrating Halloween or Christmas or all of those things because it's like you're right in a free country to celebrate as you see fit. The only thing I will say that I just personally believe, but I would have never said anything. It was just kind of like, it's weird. Because we have separation of church and state, it's weird that they do Christian holidays in school, like Christmas and Easter. So I know it's so secular nowadays, but if you take it very seriously to separate church and state, technically, you shouldn't really celebrate Christmas or Easter in school. But that was just like in the back of my mind. I never would have said that to the teacher. But anyways, my oldest kid, the teacher, she was wonderful. But as the year progressed, like the first year in school, I just started realizing, my gosh, I feel so bad for the teacher because, it got to the point where we had like Groundhog Day, and the kindergarten made like a big deal about Groundhog Day. And one of the sisters in the hall is like, we don't really do Groundhog Day because it's like superstitious. And I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I remember saying like, I do not even care anymore because I feel like I'm emailing this poor teacher constantly. They had Veterans Day, can't do it. Valentine's Day, can't do it. Christmas, can't do it. Easter, can't do it. Labor Day, can't do it. It's constant. And so then when they just wanted to do something nice, I'm like, you can do Groundhog Day, I don't even care, which maybe is like a little bit of a mixed message for the poor kid, but it's just these witness kids, it just sucks. Like, you have to go through this every few weeks. No, I can't do that. So my experience was in Europe, we made a big deal in school pretty much about Christmas, and that's it. I don't really remember them celebrating any other holidays in school except Christmas. And for Christmas, we actually had a candle on everyone's desk, like even in first grade, which seems crazy. And a little side note, my mom, when she was in school and they had a candle on their desk, the girl next to her had like this beautiful red curly head of hair, and her hair caught on fire. And it was just like a horrible experience. She was okay, but it was just a horrible experience. So yes, growing up, we actually had real fire in elementary school on our desks. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. But we would do some arts and crafts, and I remember, like, if they did a Christmas tree, I would just do like an evergreen and I wouldn't decorate it. I have to be really honest here. It did not bother me. It never felt like it was a lot. I wasn't sad. I felt like my parents did so many nice things with me all the time. And I hope I did the same with the kids. Like, I constantly had kids' parties. And, you know, like when they were little, we had like teddy breakfast with pancakes and invited all the kids over from the hall. Like, I don't think that they missed out per se, because it wasn't just preaching and meetings. And my parents were the same way. We did so many nice things. So thankful for that. Thankful. The people who are hardcore with their kids, I think that's what's really hard. And so I do remember being in elementary school, and I was not making a Christmas tree. Maybe it was like 3rd grade. And the teacher said to this boy in my class, Marcel, like, why are you decorating the Christmas tree? Aren't you a Jehovah's Witness? Like, really? And he's like, I don't really care. And I was just like, what? This boy is a witness? I had no idea. And then turns out he was in the neighborhood congregation, but he did all the holidays. He never held back. And it was just like, what are you doing? And wouldn't you know, that man is out of the religion early on. His mom left with him. He lived free, and he is gay, happily married. I am so happy for him. He left. Like, he was the smart one. I ended up being in it forever, raising my kids in it. And it just was like, I'm so proud of him, actually, for he lived his conscience, you know, and his conscience was like, this isn't bad. And to put it all in perspective, the Christmas tree, if you have a Christmas tree, 2 active Jehovah's Witnesses is the ultimate sin. You know, they'll say, and I had gotten texts like, do you want to be like the apostates who put the Christmas tree in their living room? And that text is like in the back of my mind, because it is just the ultimate sin to have a Christmas tree, this pagan symbol. How horrible. And for me, when I left, I had to really undo all this thinking that Watchtower has brainwashed me for decades. Because here's, for one, the Jehovah's Witnesses used to celebrate Christmas. There's pictures of the early Bethels and Rutherford's days, and they celebrate Christmas. If I find it, I'll put it in this video and you can see it yourself. And what I think happened is that Rutherford, as a cult leader, didn't like Christmas because, A, you're spending your money on things that are not Watchtower. Like, Watchtower wants your money. It doesn't want you to spend your money or time on your family, on Christmas things, on gift giving. And people were probably really busy, buzzing around, worrying about Christmas presents. And he wanted the people to be, A, separated from the world, because that's what a cult does, us versus them mentality, and B, he wanted people to work for the cult. So if you're really busy worrying about Christmas, leaving Bethel, going to visit your family, that's a problem in a cult. So to say we're not going to celebrate Christmas anymore is actually big brain, because you are separating people, you're making people work on the holiday, and you're keeping the money and time in the cult. Because how many times do you guys remember going preaching on Christmas morning? Because we would be like, that's when people are really home. I mean, how pathetic. We're bothering people at their doors. We're bothering their family time. And, you know, we saw it as that's when you can really reach people. It's really sad, actually. So Rutherford decided, we're not gonna do Christmas anymore, and that was the end of Christmas for Jehovah's Witnesses. If the excuse was, the tree is so pagan, that's a very poor excuse not to celebrate this holiday, because the tree doesn't have the same meaning anymore as it used to. It's not a symbol for anything. It's just pretty much decoration. So even if we say, yeah, Jesus wasn't born at Christmas, which if you're new to the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's true. Jesus was not born on Christmas. His birthday is not in the Bible, but it was more than likely in the fall. You can research this. There's another reason why Christmas is celebrated on the 25th. It's because of winter solstice. The ancient Romans would celebrate the birth of the sun because the days start getting longer again. And what we're going to get into a little bit of history right now. The Emperor Constantine realized that his empire was weak when people are divided. You have a strong empire when people are united. And they had this big clash between the two faiths, basically, and the two people. So you had the Romans and celebrating pagan holidays, and you had the Christians not celebrating those holidays. And so what they decided is, let's integrate. Let's just say Jesus was born, and we'll make this a Christian holiday, but you Romans still can celebrate your holiday. It's a win-win for everybody, and that is really why December 25th was born. Look it up in history. It's very interesting. And Constantine was really smart and strategic in doing this, but all those traditions and the dates really don't have anything to do with Jesus and Christianity. You don't see December 24th, 25th mentioned in the Bible. You don't see a Christmas tree. And when we talk about the wise men, we don't know if it was 3. They're not named in the Bible either. But how I view it is, to me, it's just like a little fairy tale. Like, how is it any different than going to Disney and Mickey Mouse? You know, it's like a family thing. And when I met my hubby, who's Whirly, he said, like, I wasn't really celebrating anything yet, but he's like, you know, we have to do this because that's a family tradition. And when family comes together at these important dates, that's what we want to do. We want to foster that we're coming together. Like, for us, it doesn't have this meaning, and if it does have that meaning to you, good for you. You know, you do whatever you want to. It's a free country. But for us, it's like a family thing. And so my kids, when they were little, they really struggled, like, not telling people that Santa isn't real. And I didn't understand that part of, like, how we would always say as witnesses, like, lying to your kids that Santa is real and all that, because true question here, do you feel betrayed when you realize, like, oh, my parents, like, lied to me about it? Because to me, I can have Santa in our lives like Mickey Mouse, know that it's a fictional character, but still love him. So I can have that piece of honesty with my kids, but also celebrate, like, the magical time of Christmas. You know, my youngest, he was like, they think differently too, because they were raised in this religion, but then also left with me. And so he said, you know, one day when I get married and have kids, I'm going to have a discussion with my wife if it's okay with her if we teach the kids that Santa isn't real, but yet we do the whole Santa thing as fun. Because it's like the elf on the shelf. You know that's a doll. Why would I lie about it? But I like that he said, I will talk with her, because maybe to her it has a really deep meaning to, you know, pretend that Santa is real to the kids. I don't really know what's wrong or right here. If you read psychology articles, they can go either way. Maybe it depends on your kid. Maybe it depends on the atmosphere in the home. I don't know. Leave your comments, please. I would like to know what you think. I'm just giving you my perspective. Like, to me, it can be magical and they can know it's not true. But when they were little, they would really, like, tell kids, you know he's not real, right? And oh my gosh, it was such mayhem. Because on one hand, yes, they're telling the truth. But on the other, it's not our place to ruin it for other people. So I would tell them, like, you can't go around telling kids Santa isn't real. And my kiddo was like, but it's the truth. And I'm like, yes, but it's not our place to, educate people on Santa's realness. Oh, that was a tough one, because I think he kind of liked the shock value of telling kids, and oh boy. Well, that's a whole other struggle. So anyways, for me, what really helped being able to accept Christmas, because yes, I celebrate it now, was to realize that even as a Jehovah's Witness, there are pagan things that you do that are not from Christian origin. For example, if you look at a wedding and look at, research everything I say, please, we have to learn to fact check things. This is so important. Find reliable resources and make sure that it's legit, and then fact check. But in a wedding, there's so much pagan stuff that we as Jehovah's Witnesses do. The bride wears a veil. Well, the veil started to hide the bride from demons. Pagan. The cake? Pagan. Bridesmaids? Pagan. The wedding bands? Pagan. So how come those pagan things are okay, but then other pagan things aren't okay? The second thing is this. Before there was Christianity, before there was a Bible, people felt like they wanted to worship something, like a greater power than them. They didn't have Christianity in every part of the world, so they started worshiping nature. And if you really think about it, isn't that in a way worshiping a higher being too? So they started tree worshiping and nature worshiping, and they felt like the sun was powerful, so they worshiped the sun, but that's all they knew. So really, paganism is really just, they didn't have anything else. It wasn't with bad intent. It really meant, hey, this is all we got. This is all we know, but we feel like there's a greater power out there that we want to, thank. So it's not this vicious, vile thing. And then there is an article about the pinata on jw.org. Look it up. I'll link it. I talked about this in the Thanksgiving episode too. And this article is kind of like, we should use this as the golden standard. It says in this article about the pinata that it may have been pagan at one point, but it is not viewed as pagan anymore today. So if your conscience allows it, you should be able to do a pinata. Now, I really think we should almost print this out as J-dubs and show people, because the tree is not viewed as how it used to be viewed. And so if your conscience allows it, you should be able to have it. And so I really had to work it out. But at the end of the day, this is how I felt about it. We're very afraid to hurt Jehovah. We don't want to do something wrong, obviously. And so I really was like, oh my gosh, your whole thinking is am I doing wrong against Jehovah? Would Jehovah be mad? And here's what I started thinking. The Jehovah's Witness organization harbors pedos, right? What's more offending? Hurting kids or having a tree up? What would God really be upset about? Me having a tree and spreading some joy, or what they do and what they hide within these congregations? And the answer is really clear about this. I don't really think God cares about if you have a tree up or not. As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you try to be a good person, which the Watchtower Society is not doing. And so we decided, and thanks with the help of my hubby, to start celebrating Christmas. And you know what? It's now just a beautiful family tradition. And it's okay. Because you're not doing anything wrong. It's not hurting anybody. There's bigger fish to fry for God than to worry about who celebrates Christmas. And then I always thought, like, I know really, really good, kind, worldly people who celebrate Christmas, and I really admire them and appreciate them, and I don't think God looks down on them. So I hope that helped. And also, a last little nugget I have to leave here. We always talk about Jesus coming and cleansing the spiritual temple. I think it was like 1935. And so he came and he cleansed the temple. He cleansed the Watchtower Society. The funny thing is this. We still had the cross on the Watchtower after the spiritual cleansing, and we still celebrated Christmas after the spiritual cleansing. So that is a funny little nugget that I'm going to leave you with. And I hope you have a nice holiday season, whether you participate or not. Let your conscience be your guide. Work it through, talk to people, and I think it's just kind of a little bit of work to get to that point where you can accept that it's okay to celebrate the holidays, that maybe it's an important family thing to do, that it unites people, that it's beautiful to spread some cheer and have something to look forward to. So I hope this episode helped you, and we can talk about it in the comments. We can talk about what you feel like, what you need help with. Well, I'll try to be there for you, and have a wonderful Merry Christmas.